Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from eTurbo News and Livestream.travel. With me is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. And before I'm going to ask Peter how the weather is in College Station, I'll tell you a little bit more about our weather here. I wanted to explain everyone and welcome everybody who is live with us. This is a slightly different format. We're still going to have our World Tourism Network events and chat groups the same way we had before. But from now on, we'll be inviting you twice a week to be part of our breaking news show. We don't have an agenda. Really, you are the agenda, and the breaking news is what the agenda is all about, and we wanted you to be part of any discussion. Many of you have seen Peter and myself at our breaking news show and breaking news updates, we called it before, several times a week. So now we're going to make you part of the audience. And to allow everyone to be part of it, we have two set segments. One is today, what is Sunday in many parts of the world in the United States, and it's Monday for those of you joining us from Asia. It's our breaking news show East, and East means the eastern part of the world. What is, I guess, from our view, it's Asia. And so I know we will start at 4 p.m. Hawaii time, what makes it 10 p.m. on the US East Coast. So we cover a lot of North America. And for those in Asia, it would make it 10 in the morning in Malaysia, Singapore, or Bali, or 9 in Thailand, Jakarta. It would make it 11 in Korea or Japan, or 12 noon if you're in Guam or Sydney, or if you happen to be in New Zealand, it'll be like 2 in the afternoon. So we're really excited about this. As I said, this is an agenda we don't know in advance because it is what it is. It's breaking news, and we have a lot of breaking news today. So hopefully this is going to be an exciting segment. For the breaking news show, we also changed our format from having a meeting format where you see everyone's faces immediately and you can join in immediately. We have it a little bit more organized. Peter and I can actually see who's attending right now. And once you raise a hand, if you look at your screen, on the lower part, you see raise hand. We can make you part of the panelists. We promote you, as it calls, to a panelist. And I know Manoy did this, but we promoted Manoy before and he declined. So I'm not sure if this is a real request. So I'm going to lower your hand, Manoy. And if this was a real request, you wanted to be part of the panelists, then raise your hand again. I just wanted to make sure because we don't want to force anyone. Without further delay, we appreciate your participation, your questions, your comments. Keep it short because we only have an hour for the show or less, and there's a lot to cover. But as we always do, we start with the weather. And I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it's just a beautiful sunny day here. It is not too humid, it's dry, it's almost like, I guess, how things are in the Midwest. And people are out on our beaches. I can see a lot of people sailing here from my window, and it's just a beautiful day to be outside. Peter, how's everything in College Station, Texas?
Well, it's a typical Texas day here in Central Texas. Nice and hot during most of the day, very humid. We had a thunderstorm for about an hour, and then the rain went away, and before you knew it, it was back to being nice and hot. So now it's the evening, it's night here in Texas, and the temperature has gone down to a cool 80-something degrees. By tomorrow morning, it probably will be about 79 degrees and then go back up to the upper 90s. So if you're looking for a place where you can sweat lots and get all the poisons out of your skin, and you want to have beautiful skin without wrinkles, Central Texas is the place to be. And you don't have to worry about drowning because we have no beaches. So having said that, before you know it, I think we need to start talking. There's lots going on in the world today. This was a super big day. And of course, one of the big things which I'm hoping people will talk to us about is everything that's going on in Afghanistan, especially if you're in Asia. And the question that we're now seeing more and more, the high predictions that there will be major terrorism attacks both in the United States and Europe due to this. So, of course, nobody knows. You can't predict the future, but this is a great point for us to start to talk. So maybe somebody has something they'd like to begin to talk about.
Yeah, and if not, Peter, maybe we can
Yeah.
summarize. We did quite a bit of coverage. There are really two major news items, as you rightfully say. One, of course, what is maybe a little bit less tourism, but it's indirectly reflecting our tourism industry, are the changes that literally happened within 8 hours in Kabul, Afghanistan. And it's quite amazing. The president of Afghanistan is now in exile in Tajikistan, while the Taliban is occupying the palace,
Right.
and diplomats are seen on pictures we published earlier at eTurbo News running to the airport, and the airport is partially on fire. So it's not an easy situation. I know the United States is sending 6,000 troops right now to Afghanistan. So hopefully this will not start all over again. And as you rightfully say, there is a chance of terror attack planning. However, in a report I heard earlier on Al Jazeera, and I have to say Al Jazeera had access to inside the palace. Um, Also, the issue of possible terror attacks came on, and many of the comments say if this is a danger, and this is not now from Al Jazeera, but these are comments in the social media, we probably shouldn't be worried about for 2 years because that's how long it takes for them to get organized. But then again, if you see what they did in 8 hours, we don't know.
Yeah.
And
I think your point, it does take a little while. Um, I think from our perspective, from the tourism perspective, um, tourism functions as a magnet for terrorism. And for the last few years, the amount of terrorism against tourism has been very low. But I would say right now we're probably in worse shape than we were at 9/11, and certainly in worse shape than the world is when the fall of Saigon, because Vietnam was never a terrorist center. On the other hand, the Taliban have already instituted um, the collecting of names of women to be given as war prizes. The whole question of there already are reports of people being beheaded in uh, Afghanistan, and we should not be shocked when they will go after the tourism industry, as many of these people are absolutely against the concept of free travel and getting to know other cultures and being respectful of other cultures. So the tourism industry will act as a potential magnet for terrorism, and I think we need to be extremely, extremely um, careful, or at least about what may happen in the future. Now, you're right; it might take 2 years to plan it, but you know what? If I gave you 2 years and said, "Okay, you're going to be dead in 2 years," you would not be very happy. So, the bottom line is the tourism industry is just getting over it, barely getting over it, and maybe in some places going backwards because of COVID. So we've been struggling every day with COVID. Now we have to struggle with man-made COVID, meaning terrorism. So that could really be a real issue, and people, especially in Asia, I think they're going to want to make some comments about this, because Afghanistan is in Asia, and this is right in the heartland of what's called the Silk Roads. So let's see what happens.
yes, Peter, yeah, definitely an interesting subject, and it's not the only thing going on in the world. We had a major, and anyone who wants to jump in here, I gave a few people access to the microphone and the camera. You can turn your camera on if you like. We'll see you, or you can jump in here when I see that you're active. If you want to listen, that's fine too. But when I see movement like in the chat room and so forth, I assume you wanted to participate. And we have two, as I said, we have two major subjects. One, of course, is the situation in Afghanistan, and we welcome you to comment. And if there is no comment, maybe in the meantime, we can jump back and forth. We can go to the situation in Haiti. Haiti had
Haiti, yeah.
Haiti had a 7.2 earthquake 2 days ago, and that is actually stronger than the earthquake they had, I think, was it a year or two ago, where more than 13,000 people lost their life.
Well, there was a major earthquake in 2010, and they have not yet recovered from the 2010.
2010, yes, you're right. Yes.
And in between that, numerous hurricanes and they're expecting a hurricane this week. And so far, there's almost 1,700 people dead, if I'm not mistaken, in Haiti.
700, just to be.
No, I think they've upped it now well over 1,000.
Okay.
On top of that, there is the problem that the roads leading south of Port-au-Prince are very much controlled by Taliban type people. I mean, it's not the Taliban, of course, but by gangs, and it's almost impossible to get aid south of the capital. And if you remember, I think it was only last week, the president of Haiti was assassinated, and Haiti had to ask for foreign help to try to figure out who assassinated the president. So they are having a hurricane, an earthquake, and a presidential assassination all in 1 month. It's not been a good month in Haiti. And of course, Haiti is symbolic of the whole Caribbean. And the fact, and anyone who lives close to the Pacific Ocean also knows the Pacific Ocean is highly sensitive to earthquakes or seaquakes. And I believe it was last week that there was one in Alaska that set off a tsunami across much of the Pacific.
Even the tsunami, just to be fair, never happened, but it was just centimeters. But it's the threat, the pure threat is there.
Right. It was.
If you look at Asia specifically, and maybe I wanted to ask Moody if she wants to jump in, specifically at a country in Indonesia where Moody lives, she's in Jakarta. There are earthquakes all the time, and this is a threat. Yeah, we all remember the East Asia tsunami that killed so many people in Thailand and Indonesia and so forth. How's the earthquake situation, Moody, if you want to jump in your part of the world?
Okay, can you hear me, Thomas?
We can hear you fine.
We
Yes,
can hear you just fine.
Put you on the spot.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, Thomas, it's so many earthquakes in Indonesia, but to be frankly, that I never live in the area of the earthquake itself. I'm always in Jakarta, and it's very much little the effect that happening to us in Jakarta. But of course, in the area itself, the damaging is so so tragic. The beauty is after the earthquake, let's say like 3, 4, 5 years, then the area it becomes so. I mean, the land is so good to grow so many trees that you need. So it's become productive land itself after the earthquake and all that. So there's always a good thing behind the bad thing. I mean, that's how we see it. Yeah, the positive side of it. Like the Aceh, for example, the worst areas that affected by the tsunami and earthquake and all that. For several times actually, but now they are very prosperous. They're very growing in terms of natural resources they have this time. That's how I see it.
Moody, how well is the architecture and the engineering as far as being protecting people against earthquake? One of the problems in Haiti is that many of the buildings were very poorly constructed, so they collapsed right away. I assume that Indonesia has probably stricter laws as far as building codes, or am I right or wrong?
Sorry, say it again. Peter, sorry, I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Sorry. In Haiti, one of the big problems was very lax building codes. In other words, the buildings were very poorly constructed, and when an earthquake comes, everything just kind of falls down. In Indonesia, which is also part of what's known as the Ring of Fire for the Pacific Ocean, do you have very strict building codes, or are they lax, or how well protected are you when there is an earthquake that comes?
Yeah, they have a body that actually founded by the government, which is up to now they are still managing the area. I think what we are looking now, they are so far so good. I mean, there are not any complaint in terms of rebuilding the areas, and I may say that they are very much satisfied with what the government has been doing from tsunami. Yeah, so I think yeah, Aceh is very happy now. Yeah.
Because it's very rare for people to compliment governments. So that's great news.
Yeah.
That's a positive.
Fortunately, Aceh is very happy. Yeah.
I see we have people here from Taiwan and from the Philippines. And of course, both of those areas are also open to all sorts of ocean storms, could be hurricanes or typhoons. And I'm wondering how, I know that there was an evacuation in Japan this week, if I'm not mistaken. I think 2 million people were evacuated due to very heavy rainstorms. I wonder how the Philippines, and if anybody from the Philippines or from Taiwan wants to mention how you guys are doing with natural phenomena. Maybe not, but at least give you the choice. I see there are some people here who
don't be shy now. No, thanks, Moody, for the feedback. And Moody and I, we know each other for many years. That's why I put her on the spot. And sorry for doing this. I also know it's early on Monday morning. And I thought if I can do it to anyone, Moody, I can do it to you, and you wouldn't yell at me. So it's okay.
Moody, I'll protect you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Yeah. So we are very fortunate in terms of that. We have a body also belong to government. Is we call it BPPT. Is a technology body. They're doing all the early warning system and all that. So they're doing very well in terms of managing the earthquake itself. That's how we see it. Thanks God. Yeah.
Yeah. When we go back to
Moody, do you have problems in Indonesia with typhoons and hurricanes, or mainly just earthquakes?
Yeah, more into earthquake and tsunami in several scale. Yeah, whether the big one is the one in 2003, is it the one in Aceh and every areas of the world, part of the world, but small tsunami is also happening in many areas in Indonesia. So it's more earthquake from the mountain and the sea, the tsunami things. It's yeah.
I see.
Yeah, we don't have much hurricane and all that.
I wonder if anybody is interested in what's going on in Afghanistan and how that might impact the tourism industry, or are people just really just not worried about it?
Well, people are quiet. So that's a little bit more information on Haiti, what just developed. The Global Resilience and Crisis Center based in Jamaica. It's under the leadership of the Honorable Edward Bartlett, who is the Minister of Tourism from Jamaica, offered their assistance and their help. And also the organization Peter and I am involved in, the World Tourism Network. We agreed to work with the Resilience Center when it comes to safety and security. And Peter made a very valid point, a security and safety aspect, not only in Haiti, but in destinations, how important it is to address it. Maybe, Peter, you can tell us a little bit what's going on in the Caribbean. I know you have been involved also outside the COVID situation, and you mentioned the roads that is blocked by rebels and all these things, but most people really don't know are going on the sideline, and making it very difficult to respond to crisis like this.
Yeah, I just wrote a new book about security in Haiti, along with Dr. Andrew Spencer, who's a colleague of mine. And as many of you probably know, the Caribbean is very tourism oriented. Matter of fact, if you take tourism out of the Caribbean, you basically have no economy. So most of those countries are small, they're tourism oriented. There are really 3 or 4 key problems that the Caribbean region has. One, high levels of crime. And that's something that has to be handled. And the important need of training police, what's called TOPS, tourism oriented policing and protection services. Secondly, most of the water desalination plants, which of course are right on the ocean, and if there is this, because the second worst fault in the world goes right through the middle of the Caribbean, if there isn't an earthquake, that could knock out not only the water desalination plants, but the airports are right next to the ocean. Makes a lot of sense because you don't want planes coming in over land if you can help it. But that means they could lose communication with much of the world. In the case of Haiti, Haiti is a very small country. It's the poorest country in the Americas, and it's actually the second country in the Americas to get its independence after the United States. So it's been independent for a very long time. They kicked out the French in the 19th century, but they've had multiple revolutions. They have political instability. They've had earthquake after earthquake. And because of the poverty, many people have chopped down trees in order to produce firewood. And the problem with that is then there's nothing holding the ground. So when you have a hurricane or you have a major flood, then you have major erosion with mudslides coming into the cities. So right now, I don't think they're ready for tourism for a while. It's going to be quite a while. They've also had all sorts of diseases. And of course, COVID is rampant. And of course, there is no vaccines or medicine in most of their hospitals. Right now, most of the hospitals are not working. So it's a real challenge. And this is something that the tourism industry really needs to work through, because if the Caribbean tourism falters, you're going to have problems across the world with refugees, people fleeing the region. They won't be able to earn their keep. And there's many, many problems that are taking place in the Caribbean right now. So we have to be very sensitive to those issues.
And Peter, of course, most of us here attending, not you and me, Peter, but are from the from Asia. And I see a journalist from India. I see people from Taiwan and Philippines. I see Moody from Indonesia. Maybe let's go back to the problem that has always been occupying us ever since we started World Tourism Network. What is COVID and tourism? Maybe since Moody is ready to speak to us, let's ask Moody again. I know Bali, for example, is one of the major and most prominent tourism destinations in Asia. And this is an area like we're in Hawaii that lives on tourism. How's the situation in Indonesia these days? Is tourism even happening? Are people talking about it? And how's everything, Moody? Maybe you can give us a rundown from how you see it in Jakarta.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's very sad. Actually, that's how I see it. That the condition of COVID in Indonesia is quite terrible. It's indicated by, I mean, even the closest family is passing away, and then it's so difficult to get the room in the hospital. But that one was like 2 weeks ago. Now it's a little bit getting better. But the lockdown, the local, we call it minor lockdown, is happening. So it's many closed roads, that we cannot go even the cross of the areas. So that is still going on with us in Indonesia, I may say Jawa, Bali, and Jakarta. So of course it's affecting to the economy, moreover to tourism. So that's the situation. I just hope that we can open the lockdown. I mean we call it minor lockdown, so we can start working at least. Now it's quite difficult, but however, in terms of tourism, I still giving the motivation to everybody of us, and in the ministry is now working together, because we are so fortunate, Thomas, with and Dr. Peter Tarlow, with having this WTN. It's motivate us to work on, and we have a new friend in Garuda, the commissary, head of the commissary. They are changing the person, and it's our still in our team. So hopefully things getting better and the COVID is defeated. That's how we do hope. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's just a minor lockdown. as many of you know, in Australia, which is not that far from Asia, they're having a major lockdown. Many parts of Australia are totally closed. People are only allowed to go out of their homes for an hour and a half a day. And you're only, many places, you're only allowed to have one visitor a day, a designated person. So, for example, if you have children, you only have one of your children visit you. So look, Australia is really going through an incredibly hard time when it comes to lockdowns. I wonder how this is taking place in some of the other places like the Philippines or India or Taiwan. We don't get here in Texas a lot of news about those places. So this would be very informative to people in other parts of the world.
What is interesting, Peter, and we had reported about it, that many Taiwanese, there is a shortage of vaccine in Taiwan, and people do want to get vaccinated, and many don't really want to get the vaccine we have here in the United States, like Pfizer and Moderna. So Guam, what is a US territory, just a few hours flight from Taiwan, opened up their tourism industry to Taiwanese, and every day, I think there's EVA Airlines and another airline flying in from Taiwan. And there is the similar program going on with Korea right now, where people go on a vacation. They stay, I believe, 2 weeks or so in Guam, having a great time, and they get vaccinated.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering, I know I don't want to put you on the spot here. We have Kish from Taipei. If you want to add to this, Kish, feel free to jump in, and we'd be happy to hear from you how this is seen from Taiwan. We are talking to the Guam Tourism Board, and they're very proud out of this initiative. And the first flights that started about 2 weeks ago were all met by Polynesian music groups at the airport, and people are really happy that some movement is back in the travel and tourism industry, what is so important for Guam, like it is for us here in Hawaii.
Yeah, hopefully they're staying a little more than 2 weeks, or they're coming back, because you need to have 28 days between the shots. So,
yeah, that's why I was really kind of trying to understand how this works. Maybe they're staying 28 days, but I think we have Harkishan. I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong. Maybe you can tell us where you're from. You're raising your hand, and just jump in. You're unmuted. Harkishan Chup. Okay, well, you have to unmute your microphone if it's muted. If not, maybe I see you're raising your hand. So let me lower your hand. So if you do want to say something, go back and raise your hand again, and we'll be happy to hear you. And it's also quite important, I think, that countries are helping each other out. And for the tourism industry, we have a lot of this vaccine in the United States here. And unfortunately, we cannot get everyone motivated to take this vaccine. What is quite strange, because in many countries, including Asia and Indonesia, people like to get vaccinated, and there's not enough vaccine. So this world is not really created equal here. And with Guam being part of the United States, opening up their extra allotment to tourism, I think it's a brilliant idea, Peter, because it's
a very good economic generator. And of course, it helps the tourism industry for people to come. And when you get vaccinated, you're really only uncomfortable for maybe about 5 minutes. On the second shot, it's a little bit longer, maybe a day. But that's about it. But meanwhile, you can go golfing in Guam or go to the beach or have a great time. You after the first shot, after 10, 15 minutes, you're good to go. So I think they usually keep you 18 minutes just to make sure there's no problems. It's really wonderful. And I'm glad that people from some of the Asian countries that don't have the vaccine, and of course, Guam has the advantage, it has either Moderna or Pfizer, which probably are the two best vaccines on the market. So they're getting really good vaccinations there, high quality vaccines.
And that's the same. We have Korea. Koreans, there are two, I'm reading it here, there are two, one charter flight, and there's one regular commercial flight coming in from Korea doing the same things. getting vaccinated. So vaccine tourism seems to be on the rise in some parts of the world.
It may
Yeah.
be one of the biggest forms of tourism. Again, it'd be really interesting for some of our participants to jump in and let us know what's going on in their country. If anybody would like to. If I don't think we should force it, but it would be nice to hear from people.
Yeah. And so anyone who wants to jump in, just don't be shy. Just do jump in and we'll be happy to have you part of this conversation. And it's a very interesting world today. There's a lot going on and we can only learn from each other. And so we understand how are things working in different part of the world. If we go to Europe, for example, there is also a big concern, not only about the situation in Afghanistan, there's probably less concern about the situation in the Caribbean, but there's more concern about the COVID rise in Europe. And that seems to be a pattern. Also, when I look right here in my home in Hawaii, we have the highest increase of daily COVID cases we ever had. Even in bad times when the state was completely locked down with 100 new cases every day, we had 1,200 cases almost in one day this week. Today we had 867, and no one really thinks about any restrictions. And I'm wondering why this is.
Well, first of all, there are two questions that you want to ask. One, what is the death rate? And two is, what is the hospitalization rate? So if you have lots of cases but low hospitalization rates, it's basically, it's not that much of a threat. On the other hand, if your death rate is rising and your hospitalization rate is rising, then you have a different situation. And so really, if you remember when COVID started, we didn't count cases, we counted deaths and hospital beds. So we've switched the methodology. It's important to know exactly what we're counting and why we're counting that particular area. So what is the death rate in Hawaii? Do you have a lot of people
Well,
die?
today it's not a good day. We're a small state, as you know, with 1.4 million people. We had 4 people dead. Even during the hard times when we were completely locked down, we seldom had a day where we had more than 1 people dying and several days where no one was dying. So we were always low, and having 4 people in one day plus 867 new cases compared to just 40 we had a couple of weeks ago, this is quite a change.
It is. How severe are those cases? Are they, in other words, are they
Die,
reporting,
it's very severe, obviously.
pardon?
I think if you die, it cannot be more
But
severe.
that's 4 cases. In
Right.
other words, how many people are being hospitalized versus how many people are being recognized as having COVID, but then they send them home and they basically are in bed for a few days.
Yeah, luckily, this has shifted to a situation that less people are hospitalized, because we're talking also about a number of people that have been vaccinated and still catch the virus, but they catch it in a very mild form. So if you catch it very mildly, it is like, probably less than a cold. You don't really have to worry about it. But the hospitalization numbers are going up and have been, I think, doubled from the time this increase started about 2-3 weeks ago. However, they're still low compared to many other jurisdictions. So we still have sufficient space when it comes to hospital beds and so forth. It's not like what we hear from New Orleans and from areas in Florida where people are in the hallways. But we don't want to get there, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I see that someone is reporting from Taiwan that it's very safe, that there are hardly any cases reported, which they're only single digits. So, but despite that, still people hardly go to restaurants. So again, that's a real issue because, there are other diseases besides COVID, and we have to be really careful. For example, how many people get sick from food poisoning at restaurants, or how many people, we're going to be entering the flu season, and that's going to be really chaotic because it's almost impossible to tell a bad case of the flu from COVID. So one of the things we now have to encourage people, not on the same day, not only do you need to get your COVID shot, you also need to get your flu shot. entering the flu season. And that's going to be really chaotic because it's up.
Peter, we got you twice here. Sorry.
Yes,
This was-
I see that. My comments were so brilliant that they decided to echo me. A little bit of arrogance there, to say the least. Well, does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss? Because I don't think we should force people to talk if they don't want to.
No, and as I said, this is something new.
Yes.
We're starting this. This is our first session. We're going to do this once a week on Sunday, and we're going to allow it between, we target about 30 minutes, maximum an hour, depending on participation. And so we're going to have our next session on Thursday. It's going to be Thursday morning, Hawaii time, 8 a.m. here, what makes it 2 p.m. Eastern time. And it's a great time if you're in Europe. It's 7 in the evening in London, or 8 in the evening in Central Europe or South Africa, or 9 in Kenya, or if you happen to be in Jordan or Israel, or 10 o'clock in the UAE. And I'm specifically interested to hear about the United Arab Emirates, because when you look at reports this morning, working on the story, the situation is so different in regards to tourism restrictions just between two emirates. There is Abu Dhabi, for example, what is the capital in the UAE, where you have very strict COVID restrictions, including quarantines for tourists that cross the invisible state line between the two emirates. And then there's Dubai, what I hear is open, where the disco life is active at night, and people are out and about. And we have two major airlines flying into the UAE. We have Emirates flying to Dubai, what apparently is doing great. And we have Etihad flying into Abu Dhabi. So it would be great next week, maybe to attract some people from that part of the world to hear a little bit how this is handled and why this is. And then, of course, we have Qatar. We're going to have Mr. Al-Bakr, His Excellency Al-Bakr, I believe, the CEO for Qatar Airways, on an event shortly, possibly next week on this one, or we're doing a WTM event in between. And that'll be very interesting to be part of this discussion, because Qatar Airways maneuvered to fly throughout this crisis from the very beginning, and had now increasing numbers of passenger numbers, is flying to many airports, even here to the United States and all over the world. And we'll be really excited to hear from the CEO of this airline how this is all handled.
So this is really going to be a challenge now, because during the week we'll be hearing from people in Europe. Next Sunday, I'm going to hope that the people from Asia can out-talk the people from Europe. So this is going to be known as the talking challenge. And let's see who's better at talking, the Europeans or the Asians. So we're going to compare. And what I would like you all to do is, for next Sunday, to be thinking of questions and talking points so that you guys can beat the Europeans. So this is like, instead of a World Cup or Olympics, this will be the Olympics, the talking Olympics.
Maybe Peter, what we can do is next week on the sign-up form, maybe we make it mandatory to ask one question. So we have it in chat, and then we give you the opportunity to actually ask this question in person. But if you don't want to speak, I understand this. So we can, at least we can take it from the chat to make it a little bit more interactive.
More interactive.
So it is now 4:40 here in the afternoon. We can come to a close unless there's any more comments or questions. I give everyone one more chance, and besides Moody, and thank you, Moody, for being so active.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
So anyone else who has anything to add, please do it now. And
forever hold your peace, as I said.
Hold your pieces. And in any case, I don't hear any takers here. We hope all of you have a nice Monday, because it's Monday where most of you are. And for those that, I don't think we have anyone joining us from the US except Peter and me. So we forget the Sunday. Just have a nice Monday. And we hope we see you all again next week. Please stay healthy. If you have any comments on this event, we will replay it on not only on eTurbo News, we also replay it on livestream.travel. And if you go to our new website, breakingnewsshow.com, you will find an archive of all the upcoming events. So this will be the first one where you see an archive, so you can keep track what we had been discussing. We have a number of neat features we're going to add and try, like we have polls where we can ask you questions and you can respond right away. But I'm trying to get it a little bit more active before we get into all of this. Anyways, Peter, if you wanted to close from my end, I can.
I'm just going to wish everybody, as it does appear that most people are from Asia, so a very happy Monday. It's been a very hard weekend in the world between the problems in the Caribbean, what's going on in Afghanistan. So let's hope that as the week dawns, both in Asia and then, of course, in Europe and the United States, let's hope we have a more peaceful week. Let's hope that we can use tourism as a methodology to bring people together in a world that's so separated and so divided. And this is a chance for all of us to come together, work together, and make a better world. So I want to thank everybody for being with us on our first show. Remember, be thinking of a question for next week. This is your talking challenge, and this is going to be known as the World Cup of Talking. So let's see. It's Asia versus Europe. Let's see who wins.
And one important part, Peter, I forgot almost. We do allow a sponsor. We allow one sponsor. We don't have anyone here, but to keep this alive. So if you wanted if you want to become a sponsor or know anyone who does, we give you the floor for a few minutes. You can also do a presentation. It has to be interesting. So we want sponsors that can really contribute. And then, of course, we mention you also in our articles. Just click on contact on any of our websites and shoot us an email, and we'll be contacting you to set this all up.
All right. Well, good day to the people in Asia. Good night if anybody's listening in the mainland of the United States. And good afternoon to Thomas. So good to everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody who's watching us.
Bye-bye. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
And for those that are watching us live on eTurbo News now, if you just give us a couple hours or so, you will get a repeat of this event, and it'll repeat for the next 24 hours. And then it'll be archived on livestream.travel and our new website, breakingnewsshow.com. Good night.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Cruise resumes, Carnival Sunshine calls at Ocho Rios on Monday. Cruise operations will resume in Jamaica on Monday, August 16, 2021, with Carnival Sunshine port call at Ocho Rios. The Carnival Sunshine is scheduled to call at the port of Ocho Rios. It is the first cruise ship with international passengers to call at a Jamaican port since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. This will mark a major step in the phased reopening of Jamaica's tourism sector, which has been adversely impacted by the global pandemic. I am very pleased to advise that Jamaica will finally see the return of cruise on Monday, August 16. We welcome this resumption as we know that thousands of Jamaicans depend on the cruise shipping industry for their livelihood, and it will have a positive impact on our economy in general, said Tourism Minister, Hon. Edmund Bartlett. I want to assure the public that this call is being managed in accordance with strict health and safety COVID-19 protocols which are guided by global standards and best practices to ensure the safety and protection of our citizens as well as visitors. Additionally, the vessel is being managed in alignment with the Conditional Sailing Order for Simulated and Restricted Voyages promulgated by the U.S. Center for Disease Control, CDC. The arrival of the Carnival Sunshine on Monday marks a significant milestone in recovery efforts and the resumption of cruise operations, which was suspended in light of the pandemic, he added. Under the strict measures governing the restart of cruise shipping, approximately 95% of the crew and passengers are fully vaccinated and all passengers are required to provide evidence of negative results from a COVID-19 test taken within 72 hours of sailing, Minister Bartlett explained. It was also outlined that in the case of unvaccinated passengers, a PCR test is mandated, and all passengers will also be screened and tested antigen on disembarkation. While on board, the crew will also be required to adhere to strict protocols mandated by the official framework for conditional sailing order. This requires that preventative measures be taken, and surveillance and response mechanisms be present on board at all times. Professor Gordon Shirley, President and CEO, the Port Authority of Jamaica, PAJ, indicated that the call by Carnival Sunshine is a representation of months of consistent collaboration and dialogue with our cruise line partners and the Ministry of Health and Wellness, MOHW. These stakeholders provided tremendous support and guidance to assist the PAJ with realigning operations with global standards considering the new COVID-19 operational paradigm. In preparation for the resumption of cruise shipping operations in Jamaica, we have upgraded all our port facilities in accordance with guidelines and COVID-19 protocols, and all our ports are retrofitted with isolation rooms and sanitation facilities. He added that we have worked very closely with the MOHW over the past year and, having heeded their advice, followed the science, so the PAJ is confident in our ability to provide our usual award-winning cruise passenger experience in a safe and secure environment, despite the challenges of COVID-19. We are truly grateful to the MOHW and our cruise partners for their unwavering support during testing times and look forward to the resumption of our cruise sector as we are cognizant of the significant positive impact the industry has on other businesses and the Jamaican economy in general. We are delighted to be the first cruise ship to return to Jamaica and to offer guests an opportunity to experience all of the country's beauty, said Christine Duffy, president of Carnival Cruise Line. On behalf of Carnival, I would like to personally thank the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and our partners for working with us to bring safe cruising back to Jamaica, she added. Passengers will be allowed to disembark the vessel to participate in tours within the COVID-19 resilient corridors, which have been in place for stopover visitors with a demonstrated record of performance for over a year. The positivity rate within the corridors is at 0.6%. The corridors are jointly monitored by the Tourism Product Development Company (TPD Co., the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and the Ministry of Transport and Mining. The Government of Jamaica has been in discussion with several cruise lines, and relevant stakeholders, regarding an efficient restart of cruise operations whilst observing health and safety protocols. We are therefore very happy that this is finally a reality. I commend the efforts of all the stakeholders including the PAJ, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and Jamaica Vacations Limited, JAMBAC, for their contribution to ensuring a safe and secure resumption of cruise operations in Jamaica, said Minister Bartlett. Martinique goes on lockdown, tells tourists to leave. The Prefecture of Martinique has recommended that vulnerable and unvaccinated tourists not continue their stay. New measures were adopted by the Prefecture of Martinique on Monday, August 9. Martinique announced reinforced lockdown starting Tuesday, August 10, at 7 p.m. Martinique Tourism Authority has specified that sanitary conditions are no longer met for stays in optimal conditions. New measures were adopted by the Prefecture of Martinique on Monday, August 9, establishing reinforced lockdown in Martinique for a period of 3 weeks, starting Tuesday, August 10, at 7 p.m. Martinique goes on lockdown, tells tourists to leave. In view of the situation, the Prefecture of Martinique has recommended that vulnerable and unvaccinated tourists not continue their stay. The Martinique Tourism Authority has specified that sanitary conditions are no longer met for stays in optimal conditions. However, accommodation establishments will not be closed administratively during this period of lockdown. Visitors will therefore have time if they wish to consider what to do, while complying with the new sanitary measures in force. The Martinique Tourism Authority is mobilized to respond to visitors' requests for information and to provide assistance for their departure from the island. Hotels and vacation rental platforms are offering flexible, no-cost deferral and cancellation terms tailored to this crisis. In addition, the 4 main airlines that serve Martinique at this moment, Air France, Air Caraïbes, Corsair and Air Belgium, have revised their flight plans to help French and Belgian holiday makers organize their departure in the coming days. Air Caraïbes will provide up to 3 round trips per day between Fort-de-France and Paris. On the Air France side, 3 flights per day will be operated on August 11 and 12 from Fort-de-France, then 2 flights per day from August 13 to 15. As of Wednesday, the aircraft used by the company will have a higher capacity, up to 160 additional passengers. In addition, all passengers whose return was scheduled by August 22 and who wish to return to France before August 15 will be able to reschedule their departure at no additional cost. Concerning U.S. travel to and from Martinique, American Airlines is due to resume its non-stop flights from Miami to Fort-de-France early November of this year. World Tourism Network Bangladesh Chapter Leadership and Focus. The World Tourism Network announced the formation of its Bangladesh Interest Group chapter under the leadership of Hakim Ali. With interest groups, the World Tourism Network, WTN, provides its members with a strong local voice, while at the same time including this local voice to a global platform. WTN started the Rebuilding Travel discussion in March 2020 and has been growing as a private-public partnership representing many medium to small-size businesses in 127 countries. Bangladesh, to the east of India on the Bay of Bengal, is a South Asian country marked by lush greenery and many waterways. Its Padma, Ganges, Meghna, and Jamuna rivers create fertile plains, and travel by boat is common. On the southern coast, the Sundarbans, an enormous mangrove forest shared with eastern India, is home to the Royal Bengal tiger. Until the outbreak of COVID-19 in March 2020, tourism has been a dynamic and one of the most profitable sectors for the world economy as well as for many developing countries like Bangladesh. Bangladesh has many natural, cultural, historical, archaeological, religious, and man-made tourist destinations. By visiting this country, one has the opportunity to get to know the tribal people and their unique culture, traditions, foods, and wildlife of various species. Tourists can also enjoy diversified tourism-related activities like water skiing, river cruising, hiking, rowing, yachting, sea bathing, etc. The tourism industry is considered a growing industry for many developing countries. It plays a significant role directly and indirectly in the GDP growth rate of Bangladesh by creating new employment opportunities for both males and females, alleviating poverty, enhancing local community participation, earning foreign currency via foreign tourists, improving the economic standards of locals, and making people economically and socially stable. Bangladesh Tourism. World Tourism Network is the long overdue voice of small and medium-sized travel and tourism businesses around the world. By uniting efforts, WTN brings to the forefront the needs and aspirations of small and medium-sized businesses and their stakeholders. Many in Bangladesh say Mr. Hakim Ali was the founder of the tourism industry in Bangladesh. He has served as the president of the Bangladesh International Hotel Association. In a press statement today, the World Tourism Network was proud to announce the appointment of Mr. Hakim Ali to lead the new WTN Bangladesh Interest Group. Juergen Steinmetz, Chairman, WTN. WTN Chairman Juergen Steinmetz said, "Having traveled to Bangladesh, I have seen the potential of the travel and tourism industry and understand the economic impact on that country. We hope our new interest group, and Mr. Ali as a leader, will make a big difference in maneuvering the tourism industry in Bangladesh through the storm of COVID-19. Medium to small-size businesses play a leading and essential role in Bangladesh, and WTN is ready to stay for the interest of this group shoulder to shoulder with Mr. Ali and his excellent committee of Bangladesh travel and tourism leaders." Hakim Ali, Chairman, WTN Bangladesh Chapter. WTN Bangladesh Chapter President Hakim Ali, who is also the owner of Hotel Agrabad Limited, announced his committee consisting of 13 members. By bringing together private and public sector members on regional and global platforms, WTN not only advocates for its members but provides them a voice at the major tourism meetings. By working with stakeholders and with tourism and government leaders, WTN seeks to create innovative approaches for inclusive and sustainable tourism sector growth and assist small and medium travel and tourism businesses during both good and challenging times. It is WTN's goal to provide its members with a strong local voice while at the same time providing them with a global platform. WTN provides a valuable political and business voice for small and medium-sized businesses and offers training, consulting, and educational opportunities. Rebuilding Travel initiative is a conversation, an exchange of ideas, and a showcase for the best practices by our members in more than 120 countries. The Hero Award recognizes those who go the extra mile serving the travel and tourism community but often get overlooked. The Safer Tourism Seal gives our stakeholders and destinations a platform to express their willingness to reopen tourism safely and responsibly. To accomplish these goals, WTN encourages the establishment of interest groups, including local chapters, which will be able to address specific local and global issues within the respective local and global settings. The WTN Bangladesh Chapter. Hakim Ali President, MN Karim Vice President. Mahedi Amin Vice President, Syed Ghulam Qadir Secretary General Taslim Amin Shaban J.T. Secretary General Syed Ghulam Muhammad Director Syed Mahbubul Islam Director Abdullah Al-Kafi Director Muhammad Arad Ali Director Nazrul Islam Director Ahmed Hossein Director Ariful Haq Director Suhail Majid Director. WTN headquarters is in Honolulu, USA. WTN.travel https://wtn.travel Brand USA keeps India on its virtual radar. The Brand USA global marketplace is unique in many ways, not the least of which was conveyed in a message loud and clear to India travel and tourism stakeholders that the United States is serious about getting the India market back, once travel is back in place, post-COVID. Brand USA conducted a virtual meeting on August 11, 2021, with leading India travel and tourism stakeholders. It was reconfirmed by Brand USA that India has always been on its radar. Both USA and India representatives are eagerly waiting for the go-ahead in travel, tourism, aviation, hospitality, whatever you want to name it. Even during the COVID period, the USA has kept up its awareness program of what is going on in India. In a presentation on August 11, 2021, which brought together, in a virtual platform, top travel and tourism leaders from India, Brand USA discussed its intention to promote and market the USA in India. Brand USA reconfirmed that India has always been on its radar, and the presenters at the meeting gave facts and figures to remind viewers that the pre-COVID numbers will not only be met but may well exceed them. On the connectivity front, things are improving with more flights in place, again, once the go-ahead comes through. Senior officials from Brand USA were there to tell the India players that there is much in common between the two countries to boost travel. The India side of the virtual meeting was led by Shima Vora, who has long spearheaded U.S. promotions in India. Travel trade training. Through Brand USA, the award-winning USA Discovery program has increased 64% in a year-on-year comparison. The program offers educational and inspiring webinars and has trained 10,113 agents since 2020 through today. The India market. In 2019, 1.47 million Indian visitors traveled to experience the United States, contributing $14.2 billion to the U.S. economy. Visitor volume from India was down 77% in 2020 versus 2019, while spending was down 45%. In June 2021, total foreign air passenger travel on non-stops from India to the U.S. was down 59% compared to June 2019. India visitor profile. In a typical year, 18 states get 2% or more of total India visitor volume. This supports Brand USA's efforts to encourage international travel to rural or lesser-known destinations throughout the United States as required by the Travel Promotion Act. 63% visit only one state during a U.S. visit, which compares to 76% across all overseas countries. Of the estimated 13 million room nights booked in 2019, India places fourth for most room nights across all markets. Top main trip purpose is business at 35% of all visitors in 2019, a level 3 times higher than the average across all overseas countries. Other main trip purposes include VFR, visiting friends and relatives, vacation, holiday, and convention, conference, or trade show participation. In closing the virtual meeting, there was no clear answer to a vital question: when will virtual be replaced by real? The UNWTO election in 2017 just made Alon Street Ainge a millionaire. A large part of the world is unified in understanding the UNWTO election for Secretary in 2017 did not conclude the way it should have. Fraud, corruption, irregularities and much more was reported during the process, securing the current position for UNWTO Secretary-General Zarab Polilikashvili. One of the candidates competing for the post at that time was Mr. Alain Street Ainge. He did not take what happened to him as a given. 4 years later, the highest appeal court in his native Seychelles awarded him 7 million Seychelles rupees or approximately $526,000 in damages this Thursday. Many in the world now ask how UNWTO would have progressed through this COVID crisis with a different leader in charge? The UNWTO for sure would be more transparent, media-friendly, and open to the private sector and all member governments of the UN-affiliated agency. Saint Ainge filed a lawsuit in Seychelles in October 2017 after he was disqualified by his own government to stand in the UNWTO election. It happened 2 days before the election during the UNWTO Executive Council meeting in Madrid. It was unexpected and was a point of big embarrassment for candidate Street Ainge, his supporters, and the former Secretary-General Rafay and many others. He delivered an emotional speech before the election he was not allowed to compete in anymore. Emotional speech by Alain Street Ainge at UNWTO Executive Council in 2017 after being disqualified as UNWTO candidate. Alain loves the press, he loves people and is a big supporter of the private travel and tourism industry. When he was Minister of Tourism for Seychelles, he started the Victoria Carnival, an event that brought carnivals and visitors from all parts of the world to this small island state. Carnivals, that paraded from Trinidad, Nottingham, Cologne to Rio de Janeiro in Seychelles are still talking about it. Unfortunately, Saint Ainge never had a chance to be voted for by UNWTO member countries. Africa was getting the short end of the stick was a major concern during the election, and it turned into a sad reality according to many. Back in 2017, 2 African leaders were trying to bring Africa to the world tourism stage. Dr. Walter Mazembe, the longest-serving African tourism minister at that time from Zimbabwe, and Alain Street Ainge from Seychelles. The African Union endorsed Dr. Mazembe as the candidate for Africa, which was confirmed by Seychelles as well at the time. With 2 candidates from Africa, the chances for Africa to assign one of their own as Secretary-General became a real challenge. Zimbabwe under President Mugabe pushed the African Union to coerce Seychelles to not allow Alain Street Ainge to run. The pressure on Seychelles was tremendous and threatened African sanctions. The Seychelles government gave in just minutes before the election and forcefully withdrew Saint Ainge from the election. This was a big embarrassment for candidate Street Ainge, but also for UNWTO, and the integrity of the election process. Unfortunately, this was only one out of many problems of alarming developments that finally confirmed the Georgia candidate as Secretary-General for the UNWTO General Assembly in Chengdu, China. Africa had the short stick from the beginning, starting in 2017 when E-Turbo News wrote, "Something stinks in Madrid." In the end, Mazembe made it to the number 2 slot and was defeated by Zarab Polilikashvili. This publication had reported about Zarab playing a foul game with favors and questionable promises to secure his votes. eTurboNews.com. Alain Street Ainge felt he was treated badly by his own government and never stopped making his point. He sued his government and won. After he won his lawsuit, an appeal was filed and now he won even bigger. This all happened on Thursday, yesterday. The Supreme Court of Seychelles has today, August 12, 2021, delivered a judgment in favor of the case of ex-tourism minister, Alain Street Ainge. Why Alain Street Ainge will receive 7 million rupees for a lost UNWTO election. Saint Ainge, who campaigned tirelessly for the post, incurring huge personal financial loss in the process, trying to make himself the first African UNWTO Secretary-General. The decision to withdraw his candidature was taken by the government of Seychelles after severe pressure was brought to bear by the African Union, which threatened economic sanctions. The Seychelles president, therefore, cancelled the nomination of Saint Ainge when he was already attending the UNWTO Executive Council meeting in Madrid, 2 days before the election. After Saint Ainge returned home, he went to court and was vindicated by the Supreme Court, presided over by Judge Melchior Vidot, when he was awarded damages in the sum of 164,396 rupees and 14 paise cents, approximately $12,366 United States dollars. This money did not even remotely cover the expenses Saint-Ange invested in campaigning for this election. He instructed his lawyers to appeal against the quantum of damages only. He also added pain, humiliation, and psychological damage that the incident caused him. After several years, the matter has finally been concluded before the Court of Appeal, the highest court in Seychelles. While the Attorney General had sought, on appeal, to have the case dismissed in its entirety, Saint-Ange had appealed against quantum. He noted candidly that the sum awarded at the Supreme Court level was barely enough to cover his filing fees, but did little to compensate for the tremendous expenses he had incurred during his campaign. The Attorney General on appeal tried, unsuccessfully, to plead that the government should be held to a different standard in law than a citizen in delictual actions. Ultimately, if their argument were to be successful, it would have the effect of making it harder for a citizen to bring a civil action against the state. Being one of the first of its kind in our jurisdiction, Saint-Ange's case today had the opposite effect following judgment, widening the scope for citizens to challenge decisions taken by the executive branch of government. The court yesterday increased the award for Saint-Ange to nearly 7 million rupees, effectively reimbursing most of his out-of-pocket expenses during his campaign period. This sum includes 1 million rupees in moral damage, one of the highest sums to be awarded in our jurisdiction for non-monetary damage to date. This will no doubt be a promising benchmark for claimants moving forward in similar causes of action. Mr. Saint-Ange was seen, understandably, leaving the courthouse yesterday in good spirits after 4 years battling out the matter in an adversarial context, alongside his jubilant team of Seychellois attorneys, comprising Mr. Kiran Shah, Mrs. Michelle Saint-Ange Ibrahim, and Mr. Frank Elizabeth. The state was represented by Mr. Stephen Knights. While Mr. Saint-Ange interacted amiably, as usual, with the gathered press, there was no comment by the Attorney General. Russian plane crashes into mountain in Turkey, killing everyone on board. Several firefighting aircraft have been sent to Turkey by Russia to assist the nation in its struggle with wildfires, which have plagued it in recent week. Russian firefighting plane crashed in Turkey today. The plane apparently was unable to gain altitude after dumping water onto wildfire. So far, no information on potential cause of crash has emerged. Russian Beria B-200 firefighting plane crashed into the mountain in Turkey's southern region of Maraş on Saturday. Russian plane crashes into mountain in Turkey, killing everyone on board. Everyone on board amphibious B-200 aircraft, the Russian pilots and Turkish officials, has been killed. According to Russia's defense ministry, there were 5 Russian servicemen and 3 Turkish officials on board the plane. The plane crashed shortly after releasing water on one of raging Turkish wildfires. The aircraft was apparently unable to gain sufficient altitude after dumping its load, and crashed into the mountain. So far, no information on the potential cause of the crash has emerged. The Russian military has already dispatched a team of investigators to Turkey to examine the site of the crash. A handful of firefighting aircraft have been sent to Turkey by Russia to assist the nation in its struggle with wildfires, which have plagued it in recent weeks. According to local media reports, the crashed B-200 was attached to the Adana firefighting department. – 3,200-kilometer trek relaunches slow tourism. As one group was traveling for 8 days along the Via Francisca of Lucomino, another group for almost 2 months was headed to Rome after leaving Canterbury. The 2 groups of walkers were part of slow tourism in the Road to Rome 2021. Start Again. The 2 groups joined in Pavia, the Lombard capital, to relaunch slow tourism. These were 2 very different journeys with one common goal, that of promoting the journey itself, slow tourism, in this instance also known as walking. The cultural and sustainable enhancement of the territories that are crossed in the process is becoming more popular. Each group departed from different locations and then met on Tuesday, August 10, in Pavia after days of marching. One group consisted of members of the AEVF, the European Association of the Bifrancesigene, which chose to celebrate its 20th anniversary with a journey of 3,200 kilometers. The other group took the 8-day journey along the Via Francisca del Lucomino, a trek that connected Lake Constance to Lake Lugano and the latter to Pavia, after crossing Lombardy from the north to the south through parks and UNESCO sites. The Via Francisca del Lucomino is an ancient trek that connected Central Europe with Rome. The two realities have been friends for some time, as are their representatives, Massimo Tedeschi, president of AEVF, and Marco Giovanelli and Ferruccio Maruca, respectively author of the guide and secretary of the institutional table for the Via Francisca del Lucomino. We have specially organized the departure of this group of pilgrims from Lavina Ponte Tresa, Varese, the first Italian stop on the Via Francisca del Lucomino, in order to meet the pilgrims of the road to Rome, explained Marco Giovanelli. It is a moment that marks the restart after a difficult moment. Slow tourism and walking allow you to experience and enjoy the territories, commented Massimo Tedeschi, considering that pilgrims and this type of travel promote dialogue between European cultures and local economies. The Via Francigena runs from England, where it has its 0 kilometers in front of the Cathedral of Canterbury, to Rome through many regions, including France and Switzerland, and continues its itinerary up to Santa Maria di Lucca, Puglia, the Finibus Terrae, the Italian end of the earth, thanks to the stretch of the Via Francigena of South. The association that has been promoting it for 20 years is celebrating this important birthday by walking it in its entirety, a 3,200-kilometer journey across Europe. The Via Francisca del of the Lucomino instead starts from Germany, more precisely from Lake Constance, then passes the canton of Grisons and the canton of Ticino, Switzerland, with a passage also in Liechtenstein. Crossing the Lucomino Pass, to which it owes its name, it then enters Italy from Lake Cerisio. It was from here that the 10 pilgrims from Trentino, Campania, and Lombardy set out to join the colleagues of the road to Rome. This has been a symbolic moment that once again underlines how this type of experience, the paths, put people at the center. The encounter between them and the cultures they represent while bringing vital and sustainable energy to the territories they pass through is what matters. Cheers to a most deserved recognition of a good journey and slow tourism at its finest. African rangers fight poaching under plight of COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a rise in poaching across Africa as wildlife rangers are stretched to the limit, causing alarm and worry for activists and conservationists. A survey conducted by conservation encouragement charity, Tusk and Natural State, found that African rangers see no sign of relief. Poaching is actually escalating as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact Africa's communities and wildlife. The survey questioned 60 field organizations across 19 countries in Africa. The Conservation and Wildlife Fund at Hwange National Park, Zimbabwe, said it has seen an 8,000% increase of traps and snares between May and July 2020. There has been an alarming spike in the rate of ivory-related arrests made by our team over the last year. The poachers will not rest despite the pandemic, so it is up to us to maintain operations and the moral high ground by protecting and caring for our teams, said Nyaradzo Hato, a sergeant at the International Anti-Poaching Foundation in Zimbabwe. We stand strong in our commitment to patrol the vast wilderness areas we are entrusted with and protect those that can't fend for themselves against poachers, Hato added. The International Journal of Protected Areas and Conservation found that 78.5% of surveyed African countries reported that COVID-19 had impacted their ability to monitor the illegal wildlife trade, and 53% reported a high level of impact from COVID-19 on the ability to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. Edwin Kinyanjou, Senior Wildlife Community Officer at Mount Kenya Trust in Kenya, said rangers needed to be more vigilant in the past year. Illegal activity due to widespread loss of income is on the rise, and while combating this activity, rangers are at risk of contracting COVID-19, said Kinyanjou. Poaching methods are also increasingly becoming sophisticated, and the justice system is overstretched. We keep going because we understand that what we are fighting for is bigger than us, Kinyanjou said. Essential funding for wildlife tourism has also been in crisis due to the pandemic. A spokesperson from the Frankfurt Zoological Society said the impact of COVID-19 is being felt in Nsumbu National Park in Zambia. This reduced tourism has impacted jobs and related livelihoods and provided a challenge in linking the value of nature with the value to human life, the society said. Charity Rhino Ark, which assists Aberdares National Park in Kenya, said tourist revenue for the Kenya Wildlife Services dropped by 96%, which triggered budget cuts to government wildlife and forest security programs. In a bid to tackle the problem, more than 150 ranger teams are taking part in the 2021 Wildlife Ranger Challenge, a series of mental and physical challenges culminating on September 18 in a 21-kilometer race across the varied and challenging terrain of Africa's protected areas. Funds raised will cover the operating costs for at least 5,000 rangers, enabling them to provide for their families and protect communities and wildlife in some of Africa's most vulnerable areas. Rangers are the lifeblood of our conservation efforts and are simply too precious to lose, said Judy Wakungu, Kenya's ambassador to France, Portugal, Serbia, Monaco, and the Holy See. Anti-poaching campaigns in Africa are going on under serious shortages of funds caused by low turnout of tourists during the pandemic. In Tanzania, one among African countries rich in wildlife, it was reported that a total of 33,386 poachers have been arrested in the past 5 years thanks to the intensified anti-poaching campaign initiated by the National Anti-Poaching Task Force, NTAP. In the same period, 2,533 weapons were seized, a total of 5,253 cases were filed in the court, and 914 were concluded, leading to the jailing of 1,600 people. The Maldives is now the 128th country as a member of the World Tourism Network. The Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation (MITDC) is a 100% Maldivian government SOE mandated to support and foster the development and growth of the mid-market segment of the tourism industry. The Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation, as authorized by its managing director Mohammed Rai, joined the World Tourism Network (WTN) as its latest destination member. Maldives just joined the World Tourism Network (WTN), making this tourism paradise the 128th country leading this organization. Director Mohammed Rai has been a frequent guest on many of the global discussions by Rebuilding Travel organized by the World Tourism Network. Under Mr. Rai's leadership, the Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation is now officially a part of this important global discussion as the latest member of WTN. With MITDC joining, the Republic of Maldives also became the 128th country with members in WTN. World Tourism Network Chairman Juergen Steinmetz said, "Maldives breeds travel and tourism. I had the pleasure traveling to Maldives many times over the last 30 years. Maldives without doubt is one of the most beautiful beach and diving destinations in the world. Maldives with luxury resort hotels spreading out over hundreds of islands is also an ideal place to maintain social distancing when relaunching a travel and tourism destination safely." The World Tourism Network is excited to work with MITDC and continue to work with Mohammed Rai. Mohammed already is a familiar face in our ongoing discussions. We now like to invite the stakeholders in Maldives, the hotels, resorts, attractions, airports to also join our network. WTN has become a leading force in the world of travel and tourism, specifically for small and medium-sized independent businesses in the world. Many such organizations located in Maldives ideally represent this profile. Welcome Maldives. The Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation, MITDC, said, "Our primary goal is to bring economic growth to the nation by expanding the possible avenues of the tourism sector through the systematic and planned development of integrated tourism in this industry. In order to diversify the ever-growing tourism and hospitality industry in the Maldives, the Maldivian government has been looking into exploring the possibility of tapping into the mid-range tourism market that is currently growing in the Maldives. And under this initiative, the Maldivian government has embarked on developing the concept of integrated tourism in the Maldives. In contrast to the traditional one island one resort concept adopted by the current resorts where all the services are provided by a single operator, we intend to involve several business operators to provide various services such as guesthouses, community centers, spas, restaurants, water sports, theme parks. This is mainly to promote involvement and revenue to the local businesses. Additionally, it is our priority to involve the contribution of the local community in the tourism sector and essentially increasing the economy of the community." Mohammed Rai, Director Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation, MITDC. Mission. Strive for excellence in meeting our mandate and facilitate sustainable development of integrated tourism throughout the nation by offering innovative and economically viable business opportunities to enable SMEs' participation in the industry, and be a model organization that capitalize on human resource development and strategic partner in the national tourism development. Vision. Build prosperity for the Maldivian community through integrated tourism development and make Maldivian local tourism a global brand. Mohamed Rai was appointed as the Managing Director of Maldives Integrated Tourism Development Corporation (MITDC), with the primary goal of contributing to the economic growth of the nation by expanding possible avenues of the tourism sector through the systematic and planned development of integrated tourism in this industry. Mr. Rai has worked directly with the former president, His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Wahid Hassan, as the head of the official residence staff. His vast experience in ASEAN region countries make him a strong player within his network of tourism, transportation, and import-export industries. Furthermore, with an active background in the law enforcement, crime prevention and legal motivation, Mohamed Rai has spent more than 4 years rigorously laying out legal frameworks and drafting far-reaching laws. His vision is to integrate community-based tourism in the Maldives and to bring local island tourism to new heights. mitdc.com.mb. WTN, www.wtn.travel. Are Americans really killing Americans? What about vaccines? The United States is divided when it comes how necessary it is to protect citizens from coronavirus. An N95 mask is a type of respirator. In January, the World Tourism Network discussed in its rebuilding.travel on what masks are killing Americans. The risks of SARS-CoV-2 infection in fully vaccinated people cannot be completely eliminated where community transmission of the virus is widespread. Vaccinated people could potentially still become infected and spread the virus to others. The truth about the vaccine? COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Millions of people in the United States have received COVID-19 vaccines under the most intense safety monitoring in U.S. history. Before the middle of the last century, diseases like whooping cough, polio, measles, Haemophilus influenzae, and rubella struck hundreds of thousands of infants, children, and adults in the U.S. Thousands died every year from them. As vaccines were developed and became widely used, rates of these diseases declined until today most of them are nearly gone from our country. Nearly everyone in the U.S. got measles before there was a vaccine, and hundreds died from it each year. Today, most doctors have never seen a case of measles. More than 15,000 Americans died from diphtheria in 1921, before there was a vaccine. Only 2 cases of diphtheria have been reported to CDC between 2004 and 2014. An epidemic of rubella, German measles, in 1964-65 infected 12.5 million Americans, killed 2,000 babies, and caused 11,000 miscarriages. Since 2012, 15 cases of rubella were reported to CDC. Given successes like these, it might seem reasonable to ask, why should we keep vaccinating against diseases that we will probably never see? Here is why. Vaccines don't just protect yourself. Most vaccine-preventable diseases are spread from person to person. If one person in a community gets an infectious disease, he can spread it to others who are not immune. But a person who is immune to a disease because she has been vaccinated can't get that disease and can't spread it to others. The more people who are vaccinated, the fewer opportunities a disease has to spread. If 1 or 2 cases of disease are introduced into a community where most people are not vaccinated, outbreaks will occur. In 2013, for example, several measles outbreaks occurred around the country, including large outbreaks in New York City and Texas mainly among groups with low vaccination rates. If vaccination rates drop to low levels nationally, diseases could become as common as they were before vaccines. What masks are killing Americans? eTurboNews.com. U2.B. Wearing a mask was agreement around the globe. The discussion was on the type of the mask. Today the type of mask seems to make no difference in the United States. The discussion is on wearing a mask at all. This discussion has taken place in the country with the highest increase in new COVID-19 infections, the United States of America. In total, the United States had 3,364,700 coronavirus cases as of yesterday. Yesterday also 155,297 new COVID-19 infections were recorded with 769 new deaths. A total of 637,181 U.S. residents died on COVID-19. Based on population, the U.S. is number 14 in the world, with higher numbers only in Luxembourg, Georgia, Aruba, Slovenia, St. Barth, Maldives, San Marino, Bahrain, Gibraltar, Czech Republic, Montenegro, Seychelles, and Andorra. Currently, 6,597,427 U.S. citizens have active COVID-19 cases and 19,474 are in serious condition in hospitals fighting to survive. Wearing a mask will protect those around you from infection. COVID-19 is spread from person to person by respiratory droplets, which are largely projected when you cough, sneeze, talk and sing. The United States of America is now the divided states of America. Here is a summary of states requiring the wearing of protective masks, and those that think they can put citizens in harm's way. Mask or no mask listed by U.S. states. Alabama, no state mandate. Governor Kay Ivey initiated a statewide mask mandate effective July 16, 2020, ordering that masks should be worn in the state when within 6 feet of a member of another household in public indoor spaces, while using transportation services or in outdoor public spaces with gatherings of 10 or more people. Governor Ivey let the mandate expire on April 9, although she encouraged mask wearing after the mandate ends. Alaska, no state mandate. The Alaska Department of Health and Social Services encourages mask wearing anytime social distancing is challenging, but no official mandate at the state level is in place. American Samoa, mandate in place. Effective February 2, Governor Lamanu P.S. Maga initiated a mask mandate for the territory, ordering individuals to wear face coverings inside any public building and while using public transportation. The group of islands in the Pacific Ocean that make up the territory has seen 0 cases of COVID-19, according to the World Health Organization, and a code system has since been established in the territory ranging from blue to red, requiring that masks be worn when under a code yellow or red. The territory is currently in code blue, the least restrictive. Arizona, no state mandate. On November 19, 2020, the Arizona Department of Health Services ordered that all schools throughout the state require masks to be worn on school campuses, on school buses and at any school-associated activities. Some businesses also have mask mandates in place, and some cities and counties have their own mandates, but a statewide mandate has not been instituted for Arizona outside of its schools. Governor Doug Ducey has since rescinded all local mask mandates, and banned mask mandates implementation in schools. After the CDC announced its mandate reversal on July 27 and recommended masks be worn in schools, Ducey declared that Arizona will continue to disallow mask mandates in schools. Arkansas, no state mandate. Since July 20, 2020, a mask mandate was in place in the state, requiring that individuals comply with face covering guidelines when exposed to members of other households where a distance of 6 feet could not be maintained. Governor Asa Hutchinson lifted the state's mask mandate on March 30, although he encouraged people to be courteous of others and respect the decisions of businesses going forward. In April, Hutchinson signed legislation banning mask mandates by local or state governments and schools. California, state mandate in place. Governor Gavin Newsom initiated a mask mandate for Californians on June 18, 2020, which was later updated to order face coverings be worn whenever individuals are outside of the home. Newsom in April 2021 announced that the state would align with the CDC's outdoor masking recommendations, saying that those who are fully vaccinated do not need to wear a mask outdoors unless they are in a large crowd. On June 15, 2021, California's mask mandate aligned with the CDC's latest mask guidance for vaccinated individuals, allowing those who are vaccinated to forego wearing a mask in most settings. But in the state's most populous county, Los Angeles County, the mask mandate returned July 18, 2021, for everyone while indoors, regardless of vaccination status. Colorado, no state mandate. Since July 20, 2020, individuals in the state have been required to wear a mask in indoor public spaces and when using or waiting to use public transportation. The mandate makes exceptions for those 10 years and under and those with certain medical conditions. Governor Jared Polis in April relaxed indoor mask requirements for some counties that fall under level green restrictions based on low coronavirus transmission rates. On May 2, Polis announced that he amended the state's mask mandate to allow groups of 10 or more people to gather indoors without masks if 80% or more of those in attendance are vaccinated. On May 14, Polis announced an end to the statewide mask mandate, shifting from a requirement to a suggestion, after the CDC's latest guidance for those who are vaccinated. Masks are still required in some settings, including in schools and on public transportation. Connecticut, state mandate in place. Governor Ned Lamont ordered starting April 20, 2020, that all individuals in the state must wear a mask or face covering if they come within 6 feet of a non-household member, and when using public transportation. Since September, individuals may be fined if they do not comply with the mask mandate. On May 19, 2021, the mandate was limited only to indoor areas, and those who are vaccinated will no longer be required to wear masks indoors. Children under 2 years of age are exempt from the mandate, as are those with certain medical conditions. Delaware, no state mandate. A mask mandate was in place in the state starting April 28, 2020, where individuals were required to wear face coverings when using public transportation, while at a business and in outdoor spaces where maintaining a distance of 6 feet from non-household members is not possible. Governor John Carney announced that effective December 14, a universal mask mandate would be initiated, requiring all individuals to wear a face covering anytime they are indoors with a non-household member. On May 21, the statewide mandate was lifted, and Delawareans are now encouraged to follow outdoor and indoor masking guidance as outlined by the CDC, Carney announced. District of Columbia, mandate in place. Mayor Muriel Bowser initiated a mask mandate on July 22, 2020, stipulating that all individuals must wear a mask at businesses, in common areas of apartments, and when maintaining a distance of 6 feet is not possible outdoors. The order follows a May 2020 mandate requiring face coverings in essential business and during essential travel when the district was under a stay-at-home order. The order makes exceptions for children 2 years and younger, and individuals with certain medical conditions. On April 30, 2021, Bowser signed an executive order that allows people who are vaccinated to gather outdoors in small groups without masks, or with unvaccinated people who are wearing masks. People who are vaccinated may also get together indoors with other vaccinated individuals in private settings without masks. As of May 17, individuals who are fully vaccinated only need to wear masks in places where it is required, including health care settings, schools, at businesses where masks are mandatory and on public transportation. After the CDC reversed its mask guidance for vaccinated individuals, Mayor Muriel Bowser announced that the mask mandate would return for everyone while indoors, regardless of vaccination status, effective July 31. Florida, no state mandate. Although city and county-level mandates exist, Governor Ron DeSantis suspended all fines and penalties associated with not adhering to COVID-19-related restrictions on September 25, 2020, hindering local leaders from enforcing their mandates. In May, DeSantis signed legislation ceasing all local COVID-19 restrictions, including local mask mandates. Georgia, no state mandate. According to Governor Brian Kemp, face coverings are strongly encouraged outside of individuals' homes, but not required. An August 15, 2020, order allows counties to call for a mask mandate if they meet a certain number of COVID-19 cases per 100,000 people, and some cities, such as Atlanta, have required masks in public. Guam, mandate in place. The territory's mask mandate orders individuals to wear masks when congregating with persons not from the same household. The Guam Department of Public Health and Social Services also ordered a system of fines and penalties for violating the mask directive. Hawaii, state mandate in place. Until November 16, 2020, the state had multiple mask mandates, dictated by county governments. Governor David Ige instituted a statewide mandate for all individuals 5 years and older, excluding those with certain medical conditions. On May 25, Ige announced that the state's outdoor mask mandate would lift, effective immediately, but masks are still required indoors. Idaho, no state mandate. On November 19, 2020, 5 counties in northern Idaho instituted a mask mandate, requiring masks to be worn when social distancing cannot occur. There is no mandate at the state level, though masks have been encouraged. On May 27, while Governor Brad Little was out of state, Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeehan issued an executive order banning mask mandates in the state, prohibiting the state or its political subdivisions, such as public schools, from implementing their own mandates. Illinois, state mandate in place. Governor J.B. Pritzker put a mask mandate into place effective May 1, 2020, requiring that individuals in the state wear a face covering in public indoor spaces, and when expecting to come into contact with non-household members within 6 feet. Children 2 years and under are exempt from the mandate, as are individuals with certain medical conditions. On May 17, 2021, Pritzker aligned the state's mask mandate with CDC guidelines, allowing those who are vaccinated to go without masks in most situations. On July 27, the state adopted the CDC's latest guidance, recommending that people once again wear masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status, in areas where COVID-19 is surging. On August 4, Pritzker introduced a mask mandate for all students in schools, regardless of vaccination status. Indiana, no state mandate. Since July 27, 2020, individuals were required to wear a mask or face covering in the state when visiting public indoor spaces and when unable to maintain a 6-foot distance from non-household members while outdoors. Governor Eric Holcomb let the mandate expire on April 6, and a mask advisory now takes its place, recommending but not requiring that masks be worn. Masks are still required in government buildings, at COVID-19 testing and vaccination sites and at K-12 schools. Iowa, no state mandate. Between November 17 and February 6, a mask mandate was in place for individuals when in indoor public spaces, and when within 6 feet of non-household members for 15 minutes or longer. Governor Kim Reynolds lifted the mandate, effective February 7, encouraging vulnerable populations to continue to limit their activities outside of their home. On May 20, Reynolds signed a law banning mask mandates in counties, cities and schools throughout the state, disallowing local leaders from imposing mask requirements. Kansas, no state mandate. Since July 3, 2020, a statewide face covering mandate has been in place for individuals throughout the state when in indoor public spaces, using public transportation, and outdoors when unable to maintain a 6-foot distance from non-household members. On April 1, Republican lawmakers in Kansas ended the mandate, following an executive order from Governor Laura Kelly to keep the mandate in place. Kentucky, no state mandate. Governor Andy Beshear initiated a face covering mandate beginning July 10, 2020, making face coverings required while using public transportation, in all businesses and when a distance of 6 feet is difficult to maintain in all public indoor and outdoor spaces. Children 5 years and younger are exempt from the mandate, along with individuals actively exercising at a gym while maintaining a 6-foot distance from others, and those with disabilities that may prevent them from safely wearing a face covering. Beshear announced that starting April 27, groups of fewer than 1,000 individuals can gather outdoors without masks, although those who are not vaccinated should continue wearing masks if a 6-foot distance cannot be maintained from others. And on May 6, the governor announced that people who are vaccinated may gather in small groups indoors without masks. Following the CDC's indoor mask recommendations for vaccinated individuals, Beshear announced that the state would immediately follow the new guidance, allowing those who are vaccinated to forego mask requirements indoors. On June 11, the state's mask mandate was lifted. On August 10, Beshear announced that masks would be required inside schools, regardless of vaccination status. Louisiana, state mandate in place. Since July 13, 2020, individuals in the state had been required to wear masks while in public settings. Governor John Bel Edwards announced that starting April 28, the statewide mask mandate will lift, and mandates going forward will be set by local leaders and business owners. However, masks will still be required in government buildings, early childhood education centers and K-12 schools, at colleges and universities, public transportation and health care settings. Edwards reinstated the mask mandate on a temporary basis, effective August 4, 2021, requiring individuals ages 5 and older to wear a mask in indoor public spaces. Maine, no state mandate. Governor Janet Mills initiated a face covering mandate effective April 29, 2020, requiring individuals throughout the state to wear a face covering in public settings. Effective December 11, it was updated with more specific language about enforcement of the mandate, which should be carried out by owners and operators of all indoor public spaces. With the update, Mills clarified that claiming a medical exemption is not an excuse for declining to wear a face mask in an indoor public space. On April 27, 2021, Mills announced that masks would no longer be required outdoors in the state, except for where it is difficult to maintain physical distancing, following the CDC's announcement of its new guidelines. The state's mask mandate was lifted on May 24, although children ages 5 and older are still required to wear masks in school and child care settings. Maryland, no state mandate. Since April 15, 2020, Marylanders have been required to wear face coverings in the state while using public transportation and at retail establishments, an order that was updated to include mask requirements while indoors at any public location and outdoors when physical distancing measures are not consistently possible from non-household members. Exceptions are in place for children 5 years and under, and for individuals with certain medical conditions. Governor Larry Hogan lifted the outdoor mask mandate on April 28, 2021, although unvaccinated individuals are strongly encouraged to continue to wear masks, especially when social distancing is not possible. The statewide mask mandate ended on May 15, after the CDC announced new guidance allowing those who are fully vaccinated to go without masks indoors, although those who are not vaccinated are strongly encouraged to continue wearing face coverings, according to Maryland health officials. Massachusetts, no state mandate. Governor Charlie Baker put a face covering mandate in place effective May 6, 2020, ordering that individuals in the state wear a face covering when in a public location and when unable to maintain a distance of 6 feet from a non-household member. It was later updated to stipulate that masks must be worn at all times in public spaces. Exceptions apply for children 5 years of age and younger, and for individuals with certain medical conditions. Baker announced that the state's mask mandate would be relaxed for some outdoor settings, effective April 30, 2021, except for when it is not possible to socially distance, following the CDC's recommendations. On May 29, the state's mask mandate ended, although face coverings will still be required on public transportation, in schools and health care settings, as well as in some congregate care settings. Those who are not vaccinated are advised to continue wearing face coverings. Michigan, no state mandate. After Governor Gretchen Whitmer's mask mandate was challenged in court, the Michigan Health Department stepped in, requiring Michiganders to wear face coverings in indoor, public spaces and crowded outdoor spaces, effective October 5, 2020. Starting April 26, 2021, amid a surge in coronavirus cases in the state, children ages 2 to 4 were required to wear a face covering, while they were previously exempt. Those with certain medical conditions were also exempted from the mandate. Beginning May 6, masks were no longer required at outdoor gatherings with fewer than 100 people, the state's Department of Health announced, and people who are vaccinated were not required to wear masks at residential gatherings, whether indoors or outdoors. On May 15, Whitmer announced that the state would align with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are fully vaccinated to go without a mask in most indoor settings. On June 22, the state's mask mandate ended. Minnesota, no state mandate. Governor Tim Walz mandated starting July 25, 2020, that individuals in the state must wear a face covering in all indoor businesses and public settings, strongly encouraging Minnesotans to have a face covering with them at all times when leaving home. Exceptions to the mask mandate are made for children 5 years of age and younger, and individuals with certain medical conditions. Walz announced that on May 7, masks are no longer required in outdoor spaces, except for large venues of more than 500 people. The governor also announced that the state's mask mandate will end by July 1. On May 13, after the CDC announced new recommendations for those who are vaccinated, Walz announced that the state's mask mandate would come to an end May 14, although those who are not vaccinated are encouraged to continue wearing masks. Mississippi, no state mandate. After a statewide mask mandate expired in October 2020, Governor Tate Reeves imposed mandates on a county basis. But starting on March 3, mask mandates will be lifted in all Mississippi counties. Individuals are still encouraged to wear face coverings, Reeves said, but are not ordered to do so. Missouri, no state mandate. Some cities have adopted mask mandates in the state, but a statewide mandate is not in place. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services advises individuals to wear face coverings outside of the home when social distancing is not possible. Montana, no state mandate. Then government. Steve Bullock initiated a face covering mandate July 15, 2020, for individuals in some indoor public spaces. But Governor Greg Gianforte, who took office in January with a promise to remove the mask requirement, let the mandate expire on February 12, encouraging personal responsibility as the state continues to face the COVID-19 pandemic. In May, Gianforte signed legislation invalidating local mask mandates. Nebraska, no state mandate. Masks were required for some employees at businesses where customers come in close contact, such as massage parlors and barbershops, but no statewide mandate exists. Some cities, such as Omaha, had more stringent face covering requirements, which have since expired. Nevada, state mandate in place. Starting June 25, 2020, individuals in the state were required to wear a face covering in any public space. New restrictions were put in place on November 22, mandating that face covering must be worn when there is any contact with a non-household member, including private gatherings, whether inside or outside. On May 3, 2021, Governor Steve Sisolak announced that those who are vaccinated may gather indoors with others who are fully vaccinated without masks and may participate in some outdoor activities without a mask as well, following CDC guidelines for vaccinated individuals. On May 13, Sisolak announced that the state would likewise follow the CDC's guidelines for vaccinated individuals indoors, eliminating mask requirements for those who are vaccinated in most indoor settings. The state on July 27 announced a new mask mandate, in line with CDC guidance, making masks mandatory in indoor public spaces in counties with high COVID-19 transmission rates for both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals, effective July 30. New Hampshire, no state mandate. Governor Chris Sununu announced a mask mandate beginning November 20, 2020, for individuals in any public space, indoor or outdoor, where consistently maintaining physical distancing measures is not possible. On April 16, 2021, the governor let the mandate expire, citing declining fatalities and increased vaccinations. New Jersey, no state mandate. New Jersey's indoor mask mandate has been in place since April 2020. Effective July 8, 2020, individuals in the state were required to wear a mask in outdoor spaces where physical distancing measures were not possible. On May 17, 2021, Governor Phil Murphy lifted the state's outdoor mask mandate. On May 28, the state's indoor mask mandate was lifted, although masks are still required while using public transportation, in health care settings, long-term care facilities and child care settings, among others. New Mexico, state mandate in place. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham initiated a face covering mandate, effective May 16, 2020, ordering individuals in the state to wear a face covering when in public spaces. In July, restrictions were extended to gyms, as well, and a fine was put in place for violations of the mandate. On May 14, 2021, the state aligned its mask mandate with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are fully vaccinated to go without masks in most indoor and outdoor settings. New York, state mandate in place. Since April 17, 2020, a face covering mandate has been in place in the state in all public spaces when unable to maintain physical distancing measures, such as using public transportation. The order makes exceptions for children under age 2 and individuals who cannot medically tolerate a face covering. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced new mask mandate guidelines, in accordance with the CDC's recommendations, allowing vaccinated individuals to not wear masks in some outdoor settings, and effective May 19, 2021, those who are vaccinated may forego wearing a mask in most settings, including indoors. North Carolina, no state mandate. Governor Roy Cooper announced November 23, 2020, that individuals in the state must wear face coverings when in indoor or outdoor public spaces and around non-household members. Face coverings are now required in schools and when exercising at gyms, building on the state's initial June mandate. The order makes exceptions for children under 5 years of age, and those with certain medical conditions. Cooper announced an executive order to lift the state's outdoor mask mandate, effective April 30, 2021, although individuals are still encouraged to wear masks in crowded areas. On May 14, Cooper ended the state's mask mandate, after the CDC's latest guidance on mask requirements indoors for those who are vaccinated. Masks are still required in some locations, including in schools, health care settings and on public transportation. North Dakota, no state mandate. Between November 14, 2020, and January 18, 2021, individuals in the state were required to wear masks in all indoor public spaces and outdoors when physical distancing measures were not possible. But Governor Doug Burgum let the mandate expire in January, citing improved case numbers, while urging the public to maintain personal responsibility when it comes to combating the coronavirus. In April, the state legislature overruled the governor's veto and banned mask mandate implementation by statewide elected officials or health officers. Northern Mariana Islands, no mandate. Wearing a mask in the territory is not mandated, but some businesses have independently required face coverings upon entering. Ohio, no state mandate. Governor Mike DeWine initiated a face covering mandate, effective July 23, 2020, requiring all individuals to wear a face covering at all indoor public spaces, including public transportation, as well as in outdoor public spaces when physical distancing measures were not possible. On May 17, Ohio's mask mandate aligned with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are vaccinated to forego wearing masks in most indoor and outdoor settings. On June 2, the state's mask mandate was lifted, although DeWine reminded those who are not vaccinated to continue wearing masks indoors. Oklahoma, no state mandate. Governor Kevin Stitt has recommended mask wearing but has not imposed a statewide mandate. Oregon, state mandate in place. Since July 1, 2020, individuals throughout the state have been required to wear face coverings in public indoor spaces, and that was later expanded to outdoor spaces. The state's most recent mandate orders masks to be worn at all times, besides in one's residence or while eating or drinking. Children under the age of 5 are exempt, as are those with certain medical conditions. Effective April 29, 2021, individuals who are fully vaccinated no longer have to wear masks outdoors, except for in crowded areas or at large gatherings. Fully vaccinated individuals can also gather without masks at private residences indoors in small groups with others who are vaccinated, following CDC guidelines. On May 13, Governor Kate Brown announced that the state would follow the CDC's mask guidelines for those who are vaccinated, effective immediately, allowing vaccinated individuals to forego wearing a mask in most indoor spaces. Brown announced that the state's mask mandate will lift once 70% of eligible adults have received at least one vaccine dose statewide. On June 30, the state's mask mandate was lifted. Brown announced that masks will once again be required in indoor public spaces starting August 13, regardless of vaccination status. Pennsylvania, no state mandate. Secretary of Health Rachel Levine announced a new mask mandate November 17, 2020, requiring individuals age 2 and up to wear masks wherever they gather indoors with non-household members, even if they practice physical distancing. On March 17, 2021, a change to the mandate went into effect, allowing people who have been vaccinated to gather without masks with others who have been vaccinated, and with individuals from a single household even if they have not been vaccinated, in accordance with CDC guidelines. On May 13, public health officers in the state announced that Pennsylvania would align with CDC recommendations, allowing those who are vaccinated to forego mask requirements in most indoor spaces. On June 28, the state's mask mandate was lifted. Puerto Rico, mask mandate in place. Face masks are required at all businesses and during all outdoor activities in the territory, following a June 29, 2020, executive order. Effective June 7, 2021, those who are vaccinated are not required to wear masks outdoors, or indoors if all individuals have been vaccinated. Rhode Island, state mandate in place. Starting May 8, 2020, individuals throughout the state have been required to wear face coverings in all public spaces. Former government. Gina Raimondo built upon that mandate in November, ordering face coverings to be worn at all times when a non-household member is present, including while outdoors. Exceptions are made for children under 2 years of age, and for those individuals with certain medical conditions. Governor Dan McKee announced that the mandate will be relaxed starting May 7, 2021, maintaining mask requirements indoors but not outdoors where people can keep at least 3 feet of distance from others. On May 18, McKee aligned the state's mask mandate with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are fully vaccinated to go without a mask in most indoor settings. South Carolina, no state mandate. Governor Henry McMaster has previously urged local officials to impose mask mandates, but no statewide mandate exists. Since August 2020, however, individuals in the state were required to wear a face covering in government buildings, offices and facilities, but an executive order on March 5, 2021, lifted those restrictions. Some local governments had mask mandates in place, but a May 11 executive order made all such mandates tied to state emergency declarations invalid. McMaster's May 11 executive order also gave parents the ability to opt their children out of wearing masks in schools. South Dakota, no state mandate. The state encourages individuals to wear masks, but Governor Kristi Noem has not put a statewide mandate in place. Tennessee, no state mandate. Governor Bill Lee has advised individuals to take personal responsibility when it comes to wearing face coverings in public, especially in indoor spaces and when social distancing is not possible, but no statewide mandate has been ordered. Multiple counties across the state had initiated mask mandates, but Lee signed an executive order in April that removed local authority on mask mandates. Texas, no state mandate. A mask mandate has been in place in the state since July 3, 2020, requiring individuals to wear a face covering in public indoor spaces, as well as in outdoor public spaces when physical distancing measures were not possible. But on March 2, 2021, Governor Greg Abbott said in a press conference that he will remove the mask mandate, effective March 10, along with other statewide COVID-19 restrictions, citing the lowest case numbers and hospitalizations the state has seen in months. In May, Abbott banned local governments, schools and health authorities from imposing mask mandates. More information on COVID-19 in Texas. U.S. Virgin Islands, mandate in place. In July 2020, the Commissioner of Health ordered that face covering be worn in the territory in public spaces, including workspaces, businesses, schools and public transportation. The mandate exempts children under the age of 2. Utah, no state mandate. Then government. Gary Herbert announced a statewide mask mandate November 9, 2020, after previously instituting mandates on the county level. The statewide order required all individuals in the state must wear face masks while in indoor public settings, as well as outdoors when coming within 6 feet of a non-household member. The mandate ended on April 10, 2021. Vermont, no state mandate. Since August 1, 2020, individuals in the state have been required to wear a face covering while in indoor or outdoor public spaces where they come in contact with non-household members and where they are unable to maintain a distance of 6 feet. The mandate makes exceptions for children 2 years of age and younger and those with certain medical conditions. Effective May 1, 2021, individuals are no longer required to wear masks outdoors, except for in crowded spaces where physical distancing is not possible. Effective May 15, those who are fully vaccinated may forego wearing masks indoors as well. On June 14, Governor Phil Scott announced an end to the mask mandate and all other COVID-19 restrictions, as 80% of eligible individuals in the state had received at least one dose of a vaccine. Virginia, state mandate in place. Governor Ralph Northam initiated a statewide face covering mandate May 29, 2020, ordering individuals throughout the state to wear face coverings when in indoor public spaces and while using public transportation. Effective December 14, Northam expanded the mandate to include all indoor areas shared with non-household members, and outdoor areas where maintaining a 6-foot distance from non-household members is not possible. The mandate exempts children under 5 years old. On May 14, 2021, Northam aligned the state's mask mandate with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are fully vaccinated to go without a mask in most indoor and outdoor settings. Washington, state mandate in place. Effective June 26, 2020, individuals in the state have been required to wear face coverings when in indoor public spaces, and in outdoor public spaces when maintaining a 6-foot distance from others is not possible. Children under 5 years of age are exempt from the mandate, along with individuals with certain medical conditions. Governor Jay Inslee on May 13, 2021, announced that the state would align with the CDC's recommendations allowing those who are vaccinated to go without a mask in most indoor and outdoor settings. West Virginia, no state mandate. Governor Jim Justice initiated a face covering mandate, effective November 14, 2020, ordering all individuals in the state to wear face coverings when in indoor public spaces, with exceptions while eating and drinking inside restaurants. Children under 9 years of age are exempt from the regulation, as are individuals with certain medical conditions. Justice announced on May 7, 2021, that the state's mask mandate will be lifted June 20. On May 14, Justice aligned the state's mask mandate with the CDC's latest guidance, allowing those who are fully vaccinated to forego a mask in most indoor settings. On June 20, the mandate was lifted. Wisconsin, no state mandate. Following a legal challenge in October 2020, Governor Tony Evers' face covering mandate was upheld. The mandate required individuals throughout the state to wear face coverings in indoor public spaces, as well as in closed spaces such as while using public transportation. On March 31, 2021, however, after disputes between the governor and some legislators brought the mandate to the state's Supreme Court, the mandate was struck down and effectively ended. Wyoming, no state mandate. A statewide mask order took effect on December 9, 2020, requiring face coverings be worn in indoor public spaces, such as businesses, government buildings, and while using public transportation. But Governor Mark Gordon announced that he will remove the mask mandate, effective March 16, 2021, asking Wyoming citizens to continue to take personal responsibility for their actions and stay diligent. Touring the presidential palace in Kabul with Taliban fighters as guides. Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani has left Afghanistan as Taliban closes in on Kabul, according to the country's top peace negotiator Abdullah Abdullah. Al Jazeera TV has been broadcasting exclusive coverage from within the palace showing Taliban fighters sitting in the presidential office in Kabul. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul is instructing U.S. citizens about reports about Kabul airport was on fire. The advice to Americans stranded in Afghanistan to take shelter in place. Journalists reporting for the Qatar-based news network Al Jazeera were invited today to tour the presidential palace in Kabul, Afghanistan. Taliban fighters were posing in the presidential office with machine guns. There seems to be panic and fear, but no bloodshed reported in the capital city of Kabul today, with Taliban fighters taking control of the city at record speed. It started in the morning on Sunday, August 15, and ended at night. Afghanistan is back under the control of the Taliban after 20 years and trillions spent to keep them out. Late on Sunday, it was announced that Ghani had left the country with several members of his cabinet. The former president of Afghanistan has left Afghanistan. He has left the nation in this state, for that God will hold him to account, Abdullah Abdullah, chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation, said in a video posted to his Facebook page. The collapse of the Western-backed government in Kabul comes in the wake of Taliban blitzkrieg that began on August 6 and led to the capture of more than 24 Afghan provinces by Sunday morning. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has fled Afghanistan for Tajikistan. This is seen as unpatriotic by Afghan citizens. Frustrated Western countries are scrambling to evacuate embassy staff. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is urging nations not to recognize the Taliban government for Afghanistan. Desperate, people at the airport's runway trying to escape a Taliban-occupied Afghanistan. There are approximately 1,500 Nepal citizens in Afghanistan. The Nepal Foreign Ministry said Nepal is trying to make arrangements to assist its citizens to leave Afghanistan. France relocated its embassy to the airport region in Kabul, while U.S. reports say the airport was on fire and closed. EU diplomats had been relocated to undisclosed locations. Twitter.com. Chaos at Kabul airport. Diplomats running to escape. Seen from the Pakistan embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. Florida is the most infected, Hawaii the deadliest U.S. tourism destination. Florida has the fastest spread of COVID-19 infection in a major tourism state today with 25,991 new cases or 1210 cases per million population. 27 people died or 1.25 per million. Hawaii is the deadliest U.S. tourism state with 4 dead or 2.17 per million. Hawaii recorded 845 new cases or 584 per million. Hawaii is a Democratic state, Florida a Republican state. Millions of Americans say yes to a vacation. But now, it really doesn't make much of a difference to the COVID virus if a U.S. state is run by a Republican or Democratic governor. Do Florida and Hawaii love visitors to death? Opening a state to tourism may however be a formula that also opens up the state up to record high COVID infections. Florida is wide open for tourism, and so is Hawaii, welcoming visitors with open arms. 92% of LGBTQ travelers in the U.S. are vaccinated. Fortunate both states are LGBTQ friendly. Both states are taking turns competing with each other for the last few weeks on who has the worst outbreak in new COVID-19 cases, and both states refuse to call for more meaningful restrictions on its money-earning visitors industry. Hawaii opened up to vaccinated visitors this month, and to visitors with a negative test since October 2020. Hawaii relaxed mask and social distancing requirements in restaurants, hotels, and other indoor settings, and COVID is spiking while tourism is booming. Florida got away in avoiding most restrictions, kept on advertising as a good travel destination, and COVID is spiking. Both states Florida and Hawaii have in common that the spread of COVID is at an all-time high at this time, scaring many locals to hide in their homes. While Hawaii still has sufficient hospital beds at this time, in Florida emergency rooms are spread out to hallways already. In the past week, Florida has had more COVID cases than all 30 states with the lowest case rates, combined. Both states have more than 50% of their population fully vaccinated, and both states know the danger number is in the non-vaccinated camp. Both states also need the tourism economy to flourish and won't consider stiff restrictions. Hawaii Governor AUG put some more symbolic restrictions back in place. He requires restaurants now to only sell 50% of their space. Since the United States is still closed to most international tourism, both states rely on domestic tourists. The European travelers are missing in Florida, while Japanese and Koreans are no longer seen in Hawaii's restaurants, shops, and beaches. Domestic tourism, however, is compensating for this loss and has been booming like never before. Ironically, Governor AUG in Hawaii told tourists there is no need to travel at this time, and the Hawaii Tourism Authority had been trying to make travel to Hawaii as uncomfortable as possible. All of this remains on deaf ears. The justification by officials that tourists really don't mingle with locals is laughable, and everyone knows it. Hawaii and Florida actually became closer to each other after Hawaiian Airlines introduced non-stop flights from Honolulu to Orlando. The rest of the story is not yet known. It's frightening to even think about the outcome. Unfortunately, some sentences are already written on the wall. GTRCMC help is on the way for Haiti tourism recovery. Jamaica Minister of Tourism, and co-founder of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, GTRCMC, Hun Edmund Bartlett, is expressing concern over the devastating impact of the recent 7.2 earthquake that occurred in Haiti. On Saturday, August 14, the magnitude 7.2 earthquake severely damaged several cities, burying people in the rubble of collapsed buildings in sections of Haiti. At least 724 people died, with many more missing in what is left in Haiti. The U.S. and other countries sent search teams to assist the Haiti government. If a 7.2 earthquake is not enough, a potentially deadly tropical storm is aiming at this Caribbean country now. I sympathize with our neighboring island Haiti as it reels from the destruction caused by the earthquake. These climatic events are showing us more and more that vulnerable country in the Caribbean need to be more prepared to manage and mitigate when they occur, said Jamaica Minister Bartlett. Bartlett loves his native country Jamaica and his job as the country's Minister of Tourism. However, he has seen the world of tourism through a global eye. This had brought Jamaica to the forefront of tourism everywhere in the world. Bartlett continued to say, "This is why the GTRCMC was created, to assist countries in the preparedness and management of disruptions of all kinds so they can not only recover but recover stronger." As part of efforts to provide support, the GTRCMC will be coordinating with regional leaders to meet to discuss the impact of the earthquake and examine the implications for Caribbean tourism, given the negative impact this is having on lives, livelihoods, and ultimately tourism, added Minister Bartlett. Haiti needs more than search teams and goodwill support. Safety and security is a big issue. Due to rebels operating roadways leading to the capital city, much needed aid cannot be effectively distributed. The Haitian government asked the United States to help on this policing issue, but a response is still pending. Peter Tarlow, world-known tourism safety and security expert, and co-chairman of the World Tourism Network, said in an ETN News broadcast today, "Safety and tourism security are key for any travel destination to be successful." The World Tourism Network with our established rapid response outreach is ready to work hand in hand with Minister Bartlett and the GTRCMC to assist Haiti when they are ready. The Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Center under the leadership of Jamaica's Tourism Minister Bartlett are more than a Caribbean response to local disasters, but a global initiative in a growing number of tourism destinations. Haiti, which was stricken by another powerful earthquake in 2010 which killed more than 220,000 people, is also bracing for the onslaught of Tropical Storm Grace. Just as we coordinated short to midterm mitigation for the volcanic eruption that occurred in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the GTRCMC will be coordinating with our regional partners for the way forward, said Executive Director of the GTRCMC, Professor Lloyd Waller.